Hello everybody. We are now back to our regularly scheduled filming location. And today I have a book to talk about. It is called Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. Perhaps you've heard of it. So one thing to know about me is that I love sci-fi a lot. And Mary Shelley is, popularly regarded as the mother of sci-fi. A lot of people think Frankenstein was the first sci-fi book. So of course, when I saw it at the library, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna finally do it. I'm gonna finally read Frankenstein. First of all, is this not the most boring cover you've ever seen for Frankenstein? Like, of all of the covers you could have designed for a book about creating a monster out of body parts, like an undead monster, you chose, to illustrate, what even is this? Gloves and surgical equipment is so boring. Anyway, picture this. It's October. They have a bunch of spooky books in the library on a desk. I grabbed this one. I'm like, you know what? I'm sure this is going to be amazing. It's not. Frankenstein sucks. I'm sorry to tell you all, Frankenstein sucks. It is, besides, The Catcher in the Rye, one of the worst classics I've ever read. I don't know why this is a classic, other than, it has a monster in it. That's all. That's all that makes it interesting. And I can't even describe how disappointed I was when I began reading this. It starts out with this guy I've never heard mentioned before in any Frankenstein adaptation, on a boat writing letters to his sister. Excuse me. And he comes across this guy on a sled who's chasing this massive 8-foot dude in another sled across the North Pole. This guy's skinny and sickly looking, and he's like, I'm gonna rescue you, sir. So the guy rewards him by giving him his life story. I know, a wonderful repayment. But so he starts off by oh, my life was so happy. Nothing ever bad happened to me in the beautiful fields of Switzerland. I had the most perfect life until I went away to college and decided, you know what? I'm gonna create a reanimated corpse puzzle. It's just a bunch of dead body parts sewed together. First of all, a plot hole. How does that even work? How do you get a bunch of dead people and sew them together and it actually comes alive? They completely gloss over that. He just talks about how I was in this feverish state and I worked on it day and night, and suddenly I had done it, and it came alive, but I was horrified by how ugly it was. But how? How did you do it? Because I'm sitting here, I understand organ donation and, putting dead people's body parts in other people's bodies, but creating an entire person out of already dead people doesn't make any sense to me. And I've never thought about that before, but now I am, and it's stupid. It doesn't make sense. But anyway, Victor Frankenstein has to be one of the most annoying characters I have ever read in my entire life. He frustrated me throughout this entire book because of what a whiny little bitch baby he is. So he creates this ugly, nasty monster man, and his immediate reaction is to fall into a fit of fever and of how distressed he is, And then this monster comes in and looks at him, and he gets even worse, and he's just sitting there sickly for 2 months before his friend comes and is like, what the fuck happened? Why are you sitting in bed? So his friend, you know, comes and takes care of him. Why? I don't know. Why didn't he just slap him and say, get out of bed? You're being ridiculous. This is the, I don't know, 18th century. I guess you're allowed to just get sick when you're depressed or anxious. Anyway, so they go back home after a while. Because after he's just sick for months and months. But he gets the worst news. And you know what? I'm not going to warn you for spoilers. This was published in the 18th century. You know, you've probably seen like 5 different adaptations of Frankenstein. If you don't already know what happens in it, then that's your problem. So he gets this news. His little brother has been strangled to death. And they think it's one of these nice maids of his house. One of his servants. So he's like, oh my gosh. He comes back. He sees his dead brother. And somehow becomes convinced. I don't know. I don't even remember how. Because I'm not going to look back in this book. I'm never going to open it again. But that the monster did it. I don't know. You know, how would you even figure that? I think he sees the monster, like, crawling up a mountain, and he's like, oh, that must mean he killed my brother. But he becomes bent on, like, finding the monster and killing it. And so he chases it through the mountains, and he's like, monster, I'm gonna kill you. The monster's like, no you're not, because, listen, I have some stuff to tell you. First of all, I only killed your brother because everyone thinks I'm ugly. No one loves me and everyone thinks I'm ugly, so I killed your brother because this is all your fault. Which, like, same. If I hadn't been poor, nothing horrible would ever have happened to me. But, whatever. And so, the monster's like, you're either going to create, like, a female version of me to make me happy and I will never hurt anyone again, or I will destroy your entire life. And Frankenstein's like, okay. So for months he goes to like Scotland, I think, or England, and he's like, I'm gonna create this female Frankenstein monster because I don't want anybody else to die. Does that make sense? No. But he does it anyway. And then he falls into another fit of sickness. Come on, dude. Nobody, like, you are a completely healthy man, but anytime, like, the wind blows, you get sick because of anxiety, like, he's so annoying. But, and then he's like, you know what, I'm not gonna make this monster because he'll probably, like, team up with this lady monster and they'll kill all of us. I'm unleashing it on humanity. I can't do this. So the monster's like, now I am gonna kill everyone you love. And he goes and kills this guy's friend who nursed him back to health. And he somehow gets framed for it because he was, like, in the vicinity of the murder, I guess. And I'm sorry, I have to take a break because this book is so fucking annoying. I hate it so much. Okay. So, he's in jail, and he gets acquitted. I don't remember how. The judge felt bad for him. His dad came and vouched for him. So he's like, we're gonna take you back home now. And also, you know, he has this cousin who he's been engaged to since he was, like, a baby. His dad's like, okay, when you get back home, how about getting married? It'll make me super happy. And he's like, okay. But the monster comes and visits him and is like, I'm gonna kill you on your wedding night. Or, I will see you on your wedding night. Weird thing to say in any circumstance. Victor Frankenstein is like, oh, that's when I'm gonna die. He's gonna kill me then. No, turns out he kills his wife. Which, there were clues to that all along, but Victor Frankenstein, who's supposed to be a genius who can create a reanimated corpse monster, doesn't catch the subtle hints. So, Frankenstein is like, well, now that he's killed my wife, he gets sick again. he gets sick again after that. But then he's like, I'm gonna spend the rest of my life hunting down this piece of garbage and killing him. So that's basically the end of the book, is him going to the North Pole from Switzerland, chasing down this monster so that he can kill it. And then he dies. He just dies on a boat. And Frankenstein monster somehow gets on that boat and is talking to the guy from the beginning. And Frankenstein's monster is like, he was such a good man. I will regret this for the rest of my life. And I'm like, what are you talking about? How is this a good way to end a book? How is this a good book in any... How did this become a classic? It's garbage. It's... I don't understand. And the thing that pissed me off the most throughout this entire book is everyone is like in love with Victor Frankenstein. He's a genius. He brings happiness to everyone. If he's sad, everyone around him is sad. Even the monster at the end is like, he was so good. How could I have done this? I should die for this. And I'm like, I wouldn't give this guy the time of day. I wouldn't piss on him if he was on fire. That's how much I hate this character. And that's it. That's the book. The only thing I liked about it was that Mary Shelley is actually a really good writer, and her descriptions of landscapes are beautiful. And apparently she wrote a book about visiting other countries. I feel like I would like that way more than I liked this book, which was 0%. So anyway, don't read this. It's bad. And you'll probably throw it in the garbage like I wanted to. But this is a library book, and I would get charged for that. Is there anything else I wanted to say? I don't think so. So, yeah, that's it. It sucks.